All right, well, good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of Citizens for Informed Land Use, or CILU. Tonight is our Fall 2025 Candidate Forum, and we are fortunate to have with us 4 candidates for the Homedale Board of Education. I'm Julie Roth. I'm the current president of CILU, and I have with me Archie Malonis, and there he is, and Bill Little from the CILU board. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Matt Weisfeld. He's our VP of Programs. He put a lot of work into organizing this forum, so I'd like to thank him as well. And thank you for joining us this evening. So CILU is a community organization founded in 1998. This is our 27th year to preserve Homedale's farmland and other open spaces and protect the natural resources of our town, particularly the Swimming River Reservoir. Our mission is also to give citizens the information they need to advocate for good government to ensure we are effective at protecting the town that we love. CILU follows issues in town to identify what effects they will have on our quality of life in Homedale. Currently, we are watching development plans being presented for the former Vonage property and for St. Mina's on the southern side of Homedale, both properties firmly within the watershed of the Swimming River Reservoir. We're also monitoring Homedale's plans for stormwater management since flooding in the northern parts of our town has become a more persistent problem. We are grateful to each and every candidate for Township Committee and Board of Education for their willingness to serve our community. We all know it is no small thing to run for public office, and the time, the energy, the resources you are putting forward are very much appreciated, so please know that. I will say that all candidates for both Township Committee and Board of Education were invited to participate in tonight's forum. Unfortunately, none of the candidates for the Township Committee chose to participate. Mayor Foster and Ellen Roth both declined to participate, and we did not receive a response from Greg Bontempo. I would also like to point out that Alan Roth is of no relation to me, just to clarify. This evening, we are happy to have with us Dr. Kevin Schroeder, Ms. Joanne Lamb, Mrs. Brittany Manning, and Dr. Gregory Fernandez. Jeff Mann is unable to attend as his family is celebrating his son's birthday, and John Buckley also had a prior commitment, but we do appreciate their responses, and I did offer to read statements on their behalf. But we are grateful to all the candidates who have graciously taken time out of their schedules to be with us tonight. And we are grateful to you, to the attendees, for taking time to join us in an effort to learn more about the candidates and make informed decisions as you cast your votes. I'm going to read the rules for tonight's forum. They are as follows. The order of presentations will be alphabetical by candidate last name. Each candidate will be allotted 1 minute to present an opening statement. A question period will follow the introduction by the candidates. Questions have been submitted in writing by members of the community to the CILU board, and I would like to thank those who took the time to submit thoughtful questions. After screening by a committee to remove any ad hominem queries, as the moderator, I will strive to pose the broadest range of questions possible in the time available. This is not a debate. This is a forum. It allows candidates to state their positions on policies regarding the different issues that affect our school district. Each candidate will have no more than 1 minute to respond, and all candidates have the option of passing on a question. There will be a timekeeper, hi Archie, and he will hold up a yellow card when there are 30 seconds left of time remaining, and the timekeeper will hold up a red card when the time is up. The speaker must conclude the sentence in progress, after which your microphone will be muted. At the conclusion of the question period, each candidate will be given 1 minute for summation, and the order of summations will be in the reverse of the opening statements. Okay, so it's time for our opening statements. We will begin in alphabetical order. Each candidate has 1 minute, and we will begin with Dr. Fernandez. Dr. Fernandez, your time begins now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight, and thanks for participating. I'm Greg Fernandez. I'm a Homedale resident from 1983 to 1991, and then again from about 10 years ago. I graduated from Homedale High School. I graduated, I think, during what was a really exceptional era, and I'm very grateful for the foundational kind of critical thinking I gained in the Homedale School District. And coming back to town about 10 years ago, seeing that the district was still very good, but maybe not where it was, and just keeping an eye on things over the years has given me the motivation to run tonight. I'm a physician at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and I also have project management experience that I'm hoping would serve me well on the board if elected.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. All right, Mrs. Lamb, to you.
Hi, thank you for hosting this forum. Hi, I'm Joanne Lamb. My husband and I moved here 9 years ago for the schools, like most of us, and we have a daughter in the high school and a son in SATS. I'm first generation college graduate with an accounting degree from Fordham University, where I also competed on the crew team. That foundation and the discipline that I got led to senior tax roles managing complex budgets at global financial institutions, including Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and Morgan Stanley. I'm running for the Board of Ed because Homedale students, schools, and taxpayers deserve better. Despite a $72 million budget, the district faces a $2.8 million deficit, up from 2022, clearly moving in the wrong direction. With my background in accounting and tax strategy, I'm committed to using my experience to help fix the budget and ease the burden on taxpayers. As a former student athlete and after-school tutor for underprivileged kids, I've seen firsthand how sports and extracurriculars build confidence, resilience, and teamwork. Balancing academics and athletics requires focus, commitment, and strong time management. I'll advocate for stronger athletic programs, equal resources, and better protections for female athletes. I'm running with Brittany Manning and Dr. Greg Fernandez because we share a vision to restore academic excellence balanced with strong sports and enrichment programs while ensuring proper resources for special.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lamb. Your time is up.
I'm
Mrs.
sorry, I want to confirm, we have 2 minutes?
You have
Okay.
1 minute.
We have 1 minute. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Go ahead, Mrs. Manning.
sure. Hi, really excited to be here. My name's Brittany Manning. I'm running for the Board of Education. By trade, I'm a certified public accountant with a bachelor's and master's degree in accounting from Notre Dame. I currently lead the tax department at a $5 billion global company. So as you can imagine, day in and day out, I live and breathe numbers, and I really love it. I handle high stakes budgets, financial statements, tax compliance across hundreds of jurisdictions with $1 million payments on the line and a lot of competing deadlines. I love the challenge of figuring out a puzzle. I'd love to put those skills to work for Homedale. My opponents will tell you that my professional credentials and my experience don't matter, but they do. I speak the same language as the business administrator, and I can really support her in ways that others can't. And that is super critical when we're facing a large school budget deficit. I look forward to answering your questions here tonight, and I really hope that Greg, Joanne, and I give you the confidence in knowing that we are the right candidates for the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Schroeder.
Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself to everyone in the community. I am Dr. Kevin Schroeder. I am a proud Homedale resident and parent. My wife, Suzanne, and I have 2 kids in the Homedale school system, Thomas and Bella, both at our Blue Ribbon School, Indian Hill, and they love it. I did grow up locally in Lincroft, went to all the local Middletown public schools, went to Rutgers University, got a degree in exercise science and sports studies, went to New York Chiropractic College, finished second in my class. And in 2005, I was able to open up my own practice in Lincroft, and I'm celebrating 20 years of service to the community this year. So it's been a pretty good run there. I've always been involved in sports and community activities. Helping others has been pretty much dedicated my entire life to it. And this is just another opportunity to get out there and help my community, help my kids, and bring Homedale, continue to move Homedale schools forward in the right direction. In the past few years, a few years ago, actually, Homedale schools were down, but the past few years we're back up again. We just want to keep things moving in the right direction. So I'm ready for the challenge and hopefully have your support.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. All right, it's time for our question and answer period of the evening. There are 9 questions. The first question we will start with came in from a community member who wrote in. In his opinion, the most important quality of a BOE member is appreciation of the value of education. Please give an example from your formal background or professional experience that would demonstrate your commitment to education. And this question goes first to Ms. Lamb. You're muted, Ms. Lamb. Could you unmute? Sorry.
I don't remember touching the button at all. So in general, our vision, the 3 of us, Brittany Manning, Greg Fernandez, we are running because we share a vision to restore the academic excellence based balance with strong sports and enrichment programs while ensuring proper resources and special programs. We have to understand how our tax dollars are spent to identify where adjustments are needed. Families choose Homedale for its strong academics, extracurriculars, excellent facilities, and special education services, but without a sound financial management, all of that is at risk. Our backgrounds in accounting, financial planning, and healthcare will prepare us to ask the right questions, analyze the budget, and address the district's financial challenges. Given the large deficit, we're going to review the budget for inefficiencies and prioritize fundings for things that really matter to the community. So I'm a first-generation college graduate, and my parents sacrificed a lot coming here to this country with not much at all, and putting us through all the schools to get us through, all the levels of training. And there was a lot of sacrifice. So, we're really grateful. I'm really grateful for the opportunity and really hope to give back to the school system.
Thank you, Ms.
Here.
Lamb. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Manning, the question on commitment to education goes to you.
Sure. I think, I just believe in a well-rounded educational experience. I was a student athlete who also played piano and saxophone. I was active in student government and Girl Scouts, and I really want my kids to have a well-rounded experience as well. Those experiences right in and out of the classroom really complemented my academic studies in different ways. I was able to grow physically, mentally, socially, and I think that's really important. As budget constraints may force us to find some creative ways to fund portions of some of these programs so that we can stay fiscally solvent, I want to make sure we recognize the importance of funding each facet of student life and learning in our schools.
Thank you, Ms. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, the question on commitment to education goes to you.
So my father actually came here from Germany, not being able to speak in English, didn't have any money. My mom was a teacher. My wife is a teacher. So understanding the importance of education, how valuable it is to us as a community and as a society is huge. And not just the academics, but the sports, the activities, the clubs. I know personally all these things prepared me to be able to go on to college and do well, but also even beyond that, to become a doctor, help serve the community, help serve my patients every day. So there's nothing more important for us, especially our children, to make sure that they're ready to be prepared for life and life experiences. And that all comes from academics as well as, of course, your home life experience as well.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Dr. Fernandez, the question on commitment to education is yours.
Yeah, so just bearing in mind, again, as a product of the Homedale school system, what I got from it by the time I left high school was a foundation that was really, really strong in critical thinking. And I found, I was ready to go from there, right? I don't know that I learned how to learn anymore in college or in medical school. I had the tools I needed to figure out the world based on the education I got in the Homedale district. And it was a well-rounded education that, got me thinking as a physician, how do things work from the molecular level all the way up to the macro level where it's affecting a patient. And I take that approach to everything I do at work. I've been involved in 2 major software implementations at Penn Medicine, at MSK, where I had to understand how something at the level of a diagnosis code is going to affect something like transportation software 15 steps down the line. And the ability to analyze and critically think is something that I had from the time I was in high school. So, it's defined my career. And I want to make sure every kid in Homedale has the same opportunity.
Thank you. We're moving on to the next question. Ms. Manning, you'll be first for this question. What are the top 2 areas that need improvement in our schools, and how do you plan to strengthen those areas?
Yeah, so I would say the first one for me is, technology. Our lives continue to move faster and faster, and we really face, a major challenge in harnessing the positives of technologies while protecting students from their dangers. Technology shouldn't replace or diminish the need for critical thinking or independent thought. And students really need to be taught how to figure out what is fact, fiction, and opinion. Technology really saturates their world, and really it comes at the expense of focus and social skills. And rising anxiety and attention issues and classroom disruptions are real. And so I really want to work at developing active working policies, regarding its use, so that we can really protect students from its harm. I also really care deeply about respect, right? And just really raising amazing human beings that are going to be really effective citizens in society, right? Really respectful of others, understanding that we may all be different, but we can always find common ground.
Thank you, Ms. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, the question on priorities goes to you.
Well, we're Homedale, and Homedale has always been known as being the best, if not or one of the best school systems in the state. So we have to stay ahead of the curve, whether it's curriculum, whether it's AI, whether it's technology. We have to be ahead. We have to think ahead. We have to try to stay ahead because not just because of our past greatness, but we have to continue that greatness moving forward. So as a group, as a board, as a community, these are things that we have to focus on to continue to stay ahead of all the other schools, school systems in the state. And then also, I agree with Brittany as far as just making sure the children understand that they are valued, that they're cared for. So many kids these days have so many social anxiety issues, and I think that's just a huge thing that we have to focus on. I know the current board has made strides in the bullying aspects and trying to reduce that as much as possible in our schools, and I really feel we're on our way, but we have a lot of work to do in that area.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Dr. Fernandez, the question is yours.
Yeah, for me, I think, and again, based on my history, I think it's the academic performance of the district. I've been following the New Jersey Department of Education, the summative scoring that they put out annually for the last 10 years since we moved back. And right now, and for the last 3 to 8 years, the district's been peaking in 6th grade. And Indian Hills demonstrated this year. They got the Blue Ribbon Award. If you look at the summative scores from the DOE, they're in the 98th percentile. And then what happens consistently year after year is the same kids are dropping down to the 40th percentile, 40th to 50th percentile in SATs, and the high school comes back to around 60th percentile. So for me, the priority would be kind of figuring out what's going on there and making sure that we're kind of stepping on the gas in terms of the academic performance all the way through high school. I think when you do that, a lot of other things also start improving. Behavior improves, self-respect improves, respect for others improves. So for me, that's where the priorities lie.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb, the question is yours.
Thank you. So I echo the sentiments of my running mates, obviously academics, critical thinking, but also having a balanced commitment to STEM, the humanities, and arts, right? So we promote critical thinking and support a well-rounded education that includes STEM, the arts, athletics. STEM teaches kids how to apply logic and reason to solve real-world problems. Humanities offer perspective, empathy, and insight into the human experience. The arts encourage creativity, and expression. And athletics, we know, builds teamwork, discipline, and school spirit. So as budgets tighten, we have to come up with creative solutions to maintain these programs while maintaining committed to supporting the full range of student learning and growth.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. All right, our third question is about the budget. Dr. Schroeder, you will be first on this one. How do you plan to manage the district's budget to facilitate long-term financial stability, responsible spending, and low taxes? Are there areas where you see potential for cost saving or reallocation? Dr. Schroeder, the question is yours.
Okay, this is the question, the $1 million question, the $2.8 million question. So the biggest issue is trying to balance the budget, but not just balancing the budget while we have to maintain and actually continue to improve our academic excellence. Basically, there's some things that are out of our control. The state budget, the S2 funding formula, which completely is a mess. Our teachers' benefits and salary, that's and they're basically that adds up to about 80%. And then the other 7% would be busing, transportation, and of course another major issue in the town is the pilot program, which we get zero from the town. from those residents for the taxes. So that leaves only about 14% of the budget to pay for everything else. Right now, I know the board that's on there, they've been doing everything for the past 24 months to reduce that, and that's why we only have 2.8 million, which it doesn't sound like a lot. It does sound like a lot, but compared to other school districts, it's not. But that's what we're trying to do. That's what I plan to do every day, is just look at as much as we can, try to trim some fat, but without reducing our school system's excellence and greatness. We don't want to cut staff.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder, you're out of time. Thank you. All right, Dr. Fernandez, the budget question goes to you.
Yeah, so, I mean, all of us here tonight, including Dr. Schroeder, we're all outsiders, and, we don't exactly have the insight to the ins and outs of how the budget works. The only thing I think I can reference is my project management experience. The software implementations I referenced earlier were projects that have budgets on the orders of hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're dynamic entities that need to be planned for, 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead, 7 years ahead, and you have to be able to iteratively go back and refine and figure out what you're going to do and understand to your best ability what's laying ahead of you. I can bring that skill to the board. In terms of where there's fat to trim, everything I've heard is there's no fat to trim, right? So figuring out how we can work with the town and move forward if possible is I think, part of that solution also.
Thank you, Dr. Fernandez. Ms. Lamb, the budget questions to you now.
Thank you. So when Dr. Gregg graduated here in 1991, we were actually top 10 in the state while spending less per student. So despite recent claims, Holmdel is currently ranked number 52 by US News and World Report, not number 30. So to reverse this trend, we'd start by going through thoroughly reviewing the financial statements and budgets, analyzing both revenue sources and expenditures. With administrative salaries and benefits being the largest cost, totaling $55 million out of the $72 million budget, that does leave $17 million of discretionary expenses that we don't have details on because we're not privy to the reports. So our backgrounds and our strengths are in managing large budgets and financial planning. So I'm sure we'll be able to put good use to that. Our goal is to balance the budget without raising taxes, and non-negotiable expenses like busing have to be fully funded so we don't have to rely on last-minute bailouts.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Mrs. Manning, the budget question is yours.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what Joanne is saying, I think, despite all good intentions, the current board does lack a certain skill set that, Joanne, Greg, and I can bring. We're trained professionally to dissect numbers, figure things out, maximize tax dollars. That's what we do with budgets, much, much larger than the school budgets. I think it also takes smart, open dialogue. We have to come to find really creative ways where we can maybe eliminate, redundant positions or things that we're not fully utilizing, but don't obviously have negative consequences to the students. I know we've discussed, amongst my running mates, the busing, right? We obviously want to provide busing, but how many of us are actually using that busing? How many of us would actually drive our kids to school anyways, right? So do we potentially have routes that are way too long, right? Or maybe we can go and use, smaller buses. I mean, those are just some examples, right? But we got to just be having really good dialogue with the community and understanding that we're obviously in a tough position, right? And we need to find positive ways to move forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning. Okay, the fourth question is in regard to pilot or payment in lieu of tax agreements, right? And Dr. Fernandez, you will be first on this one. How do you perceive the impact of pilot agreements on the financial health of our schools? What action would you take as a Board of Education member if a new pilot agreement is introduced for the redevelopment of the former Vonage site? Dr. Fernandez, the question is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too hard to connect the dots there. It's depending on the estimates you look at, it would kind of fill in a large chunk of the gap that the board has next year, right? It hasn't been good for the school district. In terms of what I would say about the Vonage is, I'd advocate against it. In terms of what to do, though, I think we have to try and work with the town to come to some sort of agreement, in terms of the previous pilot, and again, hopefully advocate against like another one.
Thank you, Dr. Fernandez. Ms. Lamb, the pilot question goes to you.
So as a slate, we would support a shared services agreement with Homedale Township, Homedale Town Council for fair sharing of Regency pilot. So if we're talking about considering the board budget, the school budget is currently not getting any of the Regency pilot money. If they do move forward with the Vonage site, we would hope that we would actually have a stake in that, because those are really valuable resources that clearly the school needs, and it's not good that the school is completely cut out. So we should definitely have some sort of sharing in that, so that we don't have to keep being short and going out to town council for bailouts if emergencies come up. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Mrs. Manning, the question on pilot is to you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's simple, right? Everybody comes to Homedale for the schools, right? That's what attracts everybody here. So I don't understand how the town believes that, cheating the schools of much deserved revenue, right, is going to help them in the long run. Right? Everybody comes here for the schools, and if we don't get our fair share, something's going to happen. Either the academic, rankings go down because something needs to be cut, or we have to go back to taxpayers and raise taxes, right? And I am running to minimize both of those situations.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, before you start, Dr. Schroeder, can I ask you, your mic, there's a static noise in the background. I don't know if there's anything you're able to do on your end about that, but I just wanted you to be aware of it in case there's an adjustment you can make.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We can still hear you. I just would like to hear you as clear as possible.
Sorry, it might be the actual computer itself.
Okay. All right, Dr. Schroeder, the pilot question is yours.
Okay, so, I mean, it's obvious that the pilot program has had a massive detrimental effect on our school system since we're getting zero of that money. And another pilot program would be probably even more disastrous. So I think the estimates are showing about $18 million over the past few years in lost revenue that would have been directly supporting our schools and our children's education. So I'd be completely against that. Once again, Brittany actually mentioned people come to Homedale for the schools. People move here because it's a great town. I don't necessarily think we need a pilot program to begin with to lure people to come here anyway. But it's been basically an unmitigated disaster for the schools. So what we do need is a relationship with the town, with the township committee, to at least for the next, I think the agreement's at least 20, 30 years, some type of agreement, a monetary agreement to get money for the schools. Otherwise, we're just going to have to keep asking every year. So it's ridiculous.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. All right, our fifth question is about scheduling. And Ms. Lamb, you will be first on this question. A survey was sent to parents this week asking for input on the schedule for STATS and high school students. If elected, would you advocate for the complex to run on its current rotating schedule, revert to the traditional 8-period per day schedule, or run on an AB block? And explain why, please. Ms. Lamb.
So without all the terminology of the AB block, I do know, and this is actually like a personal experience now, because our son is in 7th grade. My daughter obviously went through it the last 2 years, given that she just started 9th grade. But it's super confusing. So, I mean, just as a parent, without, understanding some of the, whether there's a scheduling conflict, or if there's like a limit on resources, why they have to do that. Or if it's just because they're trying to push in double math, double English. I'm not as well versed into the reason why, but I know that it does create a lot of confusion, what classes are dropped when, and when they don't have what classes. So I just know that from going from Indian Hill into SATS to that complete different schedule change, I find it confusing. So unless there was an easier way to schedule it, I personally, as a parent, don't love it unless there's such an overwhelming value of having it, then obviously we'll just make it work.
Thank you, Ms. Lennon. Mrs. Manning, the scheduling question goes to you.
So I feel a little bit, off to the side here because I still have little babies. I don't have anybody in SATs. I got 10, 7, and 2-year-old. So I'm still like way, I just started Indian Hill. So I feel a little bit out of the element. But honestly, I'm going to go back to just what I care about doing, and that's listening to parents, teachers, administrators. Like I need to hear from stakeholders and the students too, right? We sometimes leave them out. Like what is working well, what is not working well, right? And finding a positive path forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, the question on scheduling is yours.
So my family also does not have children in SATS or the high school. Both my kids are in Indian Hill. So I think the best thing to do here, which I think the current board is already doing and planning on doing, is looking at data and statistics, as well as talking to parents and communicating with them to figure out what's going to be the best for the students, the parents, what schedule is going to work out the best for them, and what's going to work out the best for the children's education. So communication, listening, and just reaching out and seeing what's going to work best for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Dr. Fernandez, the question on scheduling goes to you.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to think about this question and not think about my earlier point about the fact that, again, Indian Hills performing this year or the past year was in 98th percentile. And, if you look at the couple of years behind that, it wasn't that much below that. And SAT school has been performing sort of in the range of 40 to 45th percentile on the summative scores, which are heavily, based on standardized testing in English and math. And when I think about this, my kid just started 7th grade. When I look at a schedule, they're going from, twice the instruction, double periods of English and math to 4 days a week of English and math. And it's hard not to think that the drop in scoring has something to do with that, So obviously we need to look at all the data and look at every factor that's affecting it. But I would be inclined to look at a more traditional academic schedule. Obviously with the input of the teachers and the students, but the cognitive load of the kids keeping track of that schedule seems like it's harder than some of their classes.
Thank you, Dr. Fernandez. All right, we're moving on to question number 6 regarding the Addie Lubkert House. Mrs. Manning, you will be first on this question. The district owns the Addie Lubkert House in front of the Duncan Smith Theater. What is your position on the use and potential upgrades of the Addie home? And additionally, how would you propose to fund these costs? Ms. Manning.
I mean, I obviously want to preserve, historical aspects of our community, but I think we also have to be really smart and evaluate the costs and benefits of doing so. My understanding is that, we spent a good amount of money to save the house, and it is in quite bad shape, and it will take a lot more money to essentially bring it back up to good standing. And so I don't know if that was a good fiscal decision, right? Because by paying for that, something else, potentially, gets taken away. So I don't obviously have all of the ins and outs and privy to all the details, but that's just kind of my high level view of the situation.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, the question on the Addie House goes to you.
Yes, obviously saving the house and maintaining it is important, but yes, once again, dedicating a lot of money to it is definitely not in the budget right now. This is something where maybe the community, reach out to the community, maybe they can step up and step in, we can have a fundraising campaign or something. I'm not really sure as to the actual condition of the house, but I know we've just been talking about the budget within the school, so it's pretty tight to begin with. So this is something where maybe the whole community can get involved and step up and step in.
Thank you. Dr. Fernandez.
Yeah, I mean, again, as an outsider at this point looking in, it's the question to me is why do we even have it? I mean, I don't know that the school district should be in the business of historical preservation. It's a depreciating asset that's just going to cost money to do something with. So I don't know. I really don't know. Um, I think we need to look at the town to kind of help us figure out what to do with that.
Thank you, Dr. Fernandez. Ms. Lamb, the question is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, without having all the details, what I did hear was that we paid 700,000 for it, which is obviously not a small amount of money given the deficit that we're currently in. Considering how old it is and how much it would take to retrofit to get it back up to any usable standard. Agreed. There are limited resources with a lot of competing priorities. And I mean, if we're going to use or lean on committees or groups like HFEE to raise a couple $100,000 here and a couple $100,000 there for whether it's for turfs or playgrounds or music rooms. I think if we have that type of money sitting around, it should not be going to dilapidated houses. I'm sure there's other organizations in town that if it was to preserve a legacy or historical value, that should not be something that the school should be doing. We have much greater priorities to use with that type of money, I think.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. All right, our seventh question is in regard to parental input. There has been a lot of advocacy for parental input, yet tests are not coming home for review. Students don't have access to physical textbooks at home. Parents have been excluded from the placement process, and it is becoming increasingly difficult for parents to play a role in student achievement. What steps would you take to facilitate meaningful input from parents? Question goes to Dr. Schroeder first.
I'm sorry. Well, once again, communication is huge. Being able to communicate with parents being able to communicate with their teachers is essential to the growth of their children's education. And I know that's been a forefront of this current board's work is to get the communication system up to date and ahead of where we were years ago. So basically, I think we're taking steps in the right direction, but some of the things I think we do still have to work on. Definitely being able to bring home tests so students can know what they got wrong and right, I think is essential to learning. And then also having textbooks to be able to work and research and whatnot. I think that's essential as well. So I think there's definitely some work that has to be done in that aspect.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Dr. Fernandez, the question is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in an era where there was heavy parental engagement with the Board of Education. And I think day-to-day parental involvement in the kids' academic lives. If elected, I think one of the responsibilities of the board is to figure out what forums we have for exactly these concerns, right? Parents are some of the biggest stakeholders in the mission of the board, and beyond just the public portion of a board meeting, I wonder if it makes sense to have some other forum where there can be direct parental engagement for the business behind the board.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb?
Yes, so while we fully support parental rights, we also are parents to the full extent of the law, and decisions should not be made for them by the Board of Ed or the state or anyone else if it comes to personal well-being for the kids. No one knows you better than your parents. We know our kids best. We would support empowering parents whenever possible and seeking feedback on issues that are most important to the community, and actually implementing those changes, I think, are really important. Collectively, as taxpayers and stakeholders, we should have a say. And specifically with the topic that you brought up with the returning of tests, I know it's a sore subject for many parents where, growing up, we always got our tests back. When you ask the kids to review where they went wrong, if they don't physically have it in their possession, they can't really review where they went wrong. And some of these difficult. You can go at the lunch hour or some other period. It just makes it very difficult. And if it comes down to it's too much work for the teachers with all of the technological advances in AI, coming up with multiple versions of tests can be done within minutes. So I don't think the barriers justify the reason we can't get tests back. I think that's huge.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Mrs. Manning.
Yeah, I would agree with what Joanne and Greg are saying. I mean, you need parents involved. I want to be involved in my kids' educational journey, and I definitely support other parents that feel the same. You know exactly what makes your kid tick, right? Whether they need to be pushed harder or whether, you need to pump the brakes a little bit. And you're the ones who are really trying to, at least me as a parent, I'm really trying to reinforce what they're learning in school. And if those lines of communication are not open and I'm not able to see testing scores or understanding what they're doing in school, bringing home textbooks, really sitting down with them, working, instilling, that work ethic, understanding what's going on in the classroom, I think at the end of the day, it honestly really hurts the students the most.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning. All right, our 8th question is in regard to bullying in our schools. And Dr. Fernandez, you will be first on this question. What steps will you take to address the persistent issue of bullying in our schools, specifically as it relates to marginalized groups?
So, this is an issue that strikes real close to my professional career. I'm a psychiatrist, although I work at Sloan Kettering now. Before I was at Sloan for about 7 years, I was the medical director of a trauma program. And the number of people where bullying was one aspect of the trauma that ended up informing their lives, it's sadly way too common. So for me, this resonates very strongly. It has to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with with all parties. I think the importance of dealing with this early, in a child's development, as opposed to 20 years later when they're adults, you can't put a price on that. So I'm not privy to the mechanisms that the board has for dealing with bullying 100%. I have a loose understanding, but I would hope that my background there would maybe provide a lot of structure and insight to how we can better deal with it.
Thank you, Dr. Fernandez. Ms. Lamb?
Thank you. So if we were on the board, we would absolutely work with fellow board members to promote a more positive school culture. So also support anti-bullying efforts and restore professionalism and respect within the board itself. So I think culture comes from the top, and unfortunately, we've actually seen dismissive and disrespectful behavior towards fellow board members, even displayed during public board meetings, behavior that sets a poor example for students and undermines the board's credibility. If this is how members act publicly, how are they handling issues privately, or how can they actually impose student discipline or bullying in schools? As a metric, we're hearing that HIB reports are down, but many parents have shared that while serious issues did occur, they chose not to file HIB reports because the problems were eventually addressed. In several cases, our own family actually unknowingly contributed to this underreporting. So this suggests that the numbers don't reflect the full picture, and a dropped number in filed reports doesn't always mean drop in incidents. It can also just mean that families aren't using the system when they should. So our goal is to bring back decency and accountability and mutual respect to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Manning.
Yeah, so I was going to say something similar. I mean, it's been really disappointing when I've been talking to community members and they're telling me how, bullying has happened and, they really haven't gotten the justice that they deserve. And in fact, in some extreme cases, they've completely left Homedale District. And that's terrible. And so, yeah, piggybacking off that, I think the numbers on the page don't always paint the picture. I think parents are really overwhelmed by the process, or they completely just don't trust it at all, which is really a problem. I mean, look, kids are going to be kids and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to make bad decisions, right? And that's all part of growing up. That's fine, right? It's really important how we handle those situations, right? Teaching a kid to say they're sorry, taking accountability for their actions, those are huge skills to have to grow up. And I mean, think about us as adults. There's stuff we do where we have, trouble interacting, and we really have to work through conflict and find middle ground. So It's definitely a really big thing. I and my running mates are running on just bringing back accountability and trust to the community.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, the question goes to you.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, both my children have had somewhat bullying incidents in school. I think a lot of this has to do with just better communication, better information for parents, because I know this goes on in school. I know they talk about it all the time, respecting each other, treating each other with utmost respect, no matter what. But I'm not sure that type of information goes home to the parents. And I think the communication just has to be maybe a little bit better. Also, how these things can be handled, ways to report it. I know these things are out there, and it's definitely improved over the past few years, but that's something I would personally be promoting and pushing out there even more. Just letting parents know what is going on in school, and also ways to deter it at home, and ways, if there is an issue, the proper ways to report those issues.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. All right, we have come to the final question of the evening. You made it. It is a more fun question regarding your personal high school experience. So here it comes. Miss Lamb, you will be first on this question. What is one thing you'll always remember about your high school experience? Is there something or someone that positively impacted you in some way, or an event that was exceptionally memorable?
As far as exceptionally memorable, no. However, I was always really strong in math and English, right? Literacy English. But one of my, in 8th grade, actually, I wouldn't even say high school. Actually, I had her throughout high school. She really shaped and was critical in helping me have great grammar, even though right now, off the cuff, I don't have a great story about her, but reading all of the different literary books, she really turned me on to reading. So now I'm an avid reader, and just I don't know. I credit her for having great grammar and the love of books. And I don't have a funny story.
Thank you, Miss Lamb. All right, Mrs. Manning, your personal high school experience.
Yeah, I mean, for those that know me, you know that I am most comfortable in my sweatpants and sweatshirt and a basketball in hand, being in a gym. I mean, that's just, I live and breathe the sport. I grew up playing my whole life. So when I think of high school, I mean, I think of basketball. I think of being on a New York State championship team as a point guard, and just all the amazing memories I have. And it's not even the game, right? It's all the people you meet, it's the places you go, it's the adversity that you've had to work through, the hard work you've had to put in to reach, your goals. And it's basketball for me, right? It could be, music, it could be, whatever for anybody else. And I just really want to support that for all students in Homedale.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning. Dr. Schroeder, your memorable high school experience.
I had many, many great experiences in high school. Obviously, played a lot of sports and stuff, but there was one teacher that had such a great influence on me and a great experience. So I was in AP history. I had this teacher for a few years in a row, and the beginning, or the first year we had him, he was a jerk. He was not a nice guy to us. He really pushed us. Even if we got something right, he would still really push us hard, and nobody liked going to that class. By the second year we had him, he was all of a sudden, really close with us, a great friend. And the whole idea behind that was he made us become deeper and more critical thinkers. And he pushed us hard. And even though we didn't like him, we came to class prepared every single day because of that. And then even a few years after that, when I became a chiropractor, I opened my own business, he actually came in one day and said, "I told you, Schroeder, I knew you could do it." So that was just an amazing experience, and it's only something I can only wish and hope that my children get. But I think Homedale school system is the right place to do that. So that's my experience.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Fernandez, your personal high school experience.
Yeah, I was at Homedale High School. I'm torn between talking about my teachers and my friends, but I think I got to go with my friends because I've said this. If you met me before, I've said the craziest thing in my life is that the smartest people I know, the most accomplished people, the most interesting people are my high school friends. No, not the people I met at Columbia, not the people I met at medical school. From my graduating class of 180, I know 17 doctors, I know 3 physicists. One of my high school buddies is making sure the nuclear arsenal isn't degrading at Los Alamos. I have a friend who's on the New York Times. She's a prize-winning author. I have 2 friends that are musicians that are successful. I'm going to see one of them at Bellworks next month. I'm sorry, in 2 weeks. So for me, it's, the sense of accomplishment that I and pride and achievement when I look at my friends from high school. It's to this day, it puts a smile on my face. It makes me really glad I graduated from Homedale.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for sharing a little bit about your personal experiences with us. That was nice. All right, we've made it through the question and answer portion of the evening. We're going to move on to closing statements, which will be done in reverse alphabetical order. Each candidate will have 1 minute. And Dr. Schroeder, we will begin with you.
So I just want everyone to know that I'm just a regular parent. I just really care about my kids, our kids. I care about Homedale. I care about Homedale schools. I'm doing this because I'm committed to academic excellence. I'm committed to full transparency. I'm committed to communication, parental rights, of course. I want to keep the positive momentum going for Homedale schools. I want to preserve Homedale schools for our kids, your kids, and future generations of Homedale kids. We have something good here, but there's more to do. There's more work to be done, and I think I'm the right person for the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder, and thank you for joining us this evening. Mrs. Manning.
My purpose for running for the Board of Education is pretty simple. It's to bring the community together and to let everyone be heard. Joanne, Greg, and I have listened to the community. We've heard that people really want board members that show professionalism. They welcome open dialogue. And I mean true back and forth conversation where we're really hearing each other and looking at all sides of the situation and finding a positive path forward. And they want people who have the work ethic to really show up and make progress on issues that matter. They want nonpartisan leadership, and I agree. We're running to inject more fairness, accountability, and results into our schools. Running for public office has been really eye-opening. It's been incredibly humbling. You are putting yourself out there day in and day out, exposing yourself to feedback, positive and negative. It's really hard, but if you are truly committed, which I am, you show up time and time again. You have honest conversations. You really listen to people. You try, even though you know you may fail, because you want to do what's best for your community. I hope that, the community has seen that I have shown up and I will continue to show up and actively engage. Running for the Board of Ed is a full family commitment, and my family views it as a priority. I think there's a clear choice here for the Board of Education.
Thank you, Mrs. Manning, and thank you also for coming tonight. Ms. Lamb.
Thank you. We're running because Homedale deserves board members who actively engage, show up to committee meetings, and lead with data-driven decision-making. It's not gone unnoticed that the 2 incumbents have missed much more than just candidate forums. Time served is not the same as effective experience. The facts are we have a large deficit. Last April, buses almost were disrupted because of an anticipated shortfall that was not properly planned for. Cuts to teaching staff and outsourcing of paraprofessionals are being considered. We still don't have a contract, and we're heading to a teacher contract and headed to mediation, despite the claims that keeping the same board ensures steady progress. These outcomes don't serve Homedale and suggest we need a new approach. The idea that members can't step up effectively is not supported by these results. Fixing the budget is the top priority. My running mates and I, we have real-world accounting, finance, and healthcare experience, proven results managing complex budgets and leading large-scale projects. We can make tough decisions, look for cost effectiveness, and reallocate existing funds to meet district needs without raising taxes. So we want to bring a fresh perspective and accountability and expertise back to the board and get Homedale back on track.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Fernandez.
Yeah, so my reasons for running are quite personal. I grew up here. This is my hometown, and I am forever grateful for the foundation I got here. It gave me my life and my career. And I've been lucky, I was lucky to be here, right? So my personal motivation is to pay it back somehow. That's not why you should vote for me. You should vote for me, I would hope, based on the skill set I'm bringing, right? It's not just it's not just my experience as a physician. It's also the project leadership, the medical kind of structure leadership, and the budgeting leadership that I've developed over the past 15 years of my career. It's a skill set that I can bring to the board that I think would help it out. So I don't think anybody is running. We all want the same thing for the kids. I'm just hoping that the skill set I bring is going to be useful, and that you agree that it would be too.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fernandez, for joining us as well. And thank you to each of the candidates who joined us this evening. We sincerely appreciate your willingness to serve our community and the personal sacrifices that you are making to do so. They don't go unnoticed. Thank you. For information on the upcoming election, we ask everyone to visit www.monmouthcountyvotes.gov. Again, that's monmouthcountyvotes.gov. And no matter where you live in Homedale, there is a good chance that the work SELU volunteers have been doing for the past 27 years to protect our watershed, preserve our natural resources, and advocate for an open and transparent government has had a positive impact on the quality of your life. We will continue to do this important work. If you want to get involved in your community and meet some very nice people, we ask you to consider joining us. If you would like more information about our upcoming events, visit us on Facebook at Citizens for Informed Land Use -SELU, or go to our website, which is homedale-selu.org. We will be hosting Sean Quinn from New Jersey American Water on Monday, November 17th. That will be a Zoom program as well. And this is a great opportunity to ask any questions you may have about the quality of our drinking water. So do please visit our website and register for that program. And like that program and this program, we will post all of our Zoom programs on our YouTube channel. So that's a great place to check for programs. I'm also pleased to announce that Homedale's Environmental Commission, chaired by Karen Strickland, will be hosting their first ever Know Your Stream Day. Water systems connect us all, regardless of municipal boundaries, and that's why regional cooperation is key to protecting our environment and managing flood control. So this event is a fantastic opportunity to learn how our local actions impact our shared waterways. And this event is Saturday, October 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. And families may register at monmouthwater.org. Again, that's monmouthwater.org. So thank you again for attending. Thank you to all of our candidates, and I wish you a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.